Hello, how is everyone? I'm Jacob. A New Sounds and Old is the channel, and welcome to dark Denmark. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, so it's pitch freaking black outside. So we've reached the time of year where everyone is doing their um, top 10 or 15 or 30 or even 50 of the year with best releases, best new albums of this year. That's going to be a bit tough for me. I'll explain to you why in just a short while. But this video here is sort of a roundup of my year in music, 2024. In general, this year has been, if you can say that, a little less musical than last year. And by that I mean that I've purchased fewer albums than I normally do. I've listened to fewer albums than I normally do, and it that wasn't planned or anything. It just sort of happened. Um, I do like an Excel spreadsheet nerdy kind of thing where um, every time I put on a physical, music in a physical format, whether it's vinyl, whether it's CD or cassette, I put it into my spreadsheet saying that now I listen to this artist, this album, and I've listened to it this many times this year. Last year brought me to a total of about 250 spins, if you will, which I thought was quite low. This year, I mean, there are a few days left, but so far I'm only up to 215. So that means that for about 150 days this year, I have not listened to any music on any physical format. And I'm starting to kind of wondering why that is. I cannot tell you why. I've noticed it during the year, and I even had this thought that we're all dreading: why even bother? I had that for about a 2 seconds time, and I said to myself, well, looking at my collection and so on, I still want to buy, I still want to explore, still want to buy new stuff and secondhand stuff. But I actually had the thought, why even bother when you're not spending more time listening to all of these records that you're buying? But I came to myself, if you will, and decided that no, I still want to do this. I still want to spend a lot of money on music. And looking also at my Discogs, I also discovered that I've been buying less music, less new music this year than previous years. If my Discogs is updated correctly, and there is definitely a chance that I have not, that I've missed an album or two, but if I've done it properly, I've only bought 8 new albums or 8 albums with new music released in 2024. So for me to do a top 50 would be quite a task because have I even listened to 50 albums, 50 different albums this year? New albums? I don't think I have. Um, I'll show you the albums that I have bought, and I might have missed some. But these are, I think, eight albums with new music released this year that I've bought. Dua Lipa, Radical Optimism. As you can see, I used to be like in the 90s. I got completely on board with Nirvana, the Seattle grunge scene. I got completely on board with the electronica scene, the trip hop scene, hip hop. Very much into metal and so on. At least some bands. But I've, as you can see, just from me showing you a Dua Lipa album, I've gone pop again. I mean, I've always been a pop fan. Madonna is still one of my favorite artists of all time. Been following her for yeah 40 years now, and she's still on top of my um, list of best artists all time. But yeah, I don't listen to that much rock anymore. It's a lot of pop music, which this album also um, fits very well into. This is of course Taylor Swift and her Tortured Poets Department. I still have to buy the 4 LP version with the extra tracks because I like Taylor Swift. I'm a fan of hers, and I think that this is also a good album. It's not her best, in my opinion. It has some very good songs. There is some rock though. I got the latest album from The Smile, the Radiohead spin-off, if you will, with Tom York and Johnny Greenwood, I think his name is, the guitarist. Wall of Eyes from The Smile. Um, One of the best albums of the year, in my opinion, is Idols and Tank. Going a bit further away from the punky feel of the first two or three albums, and doing maybe more mellow or more yeah, more complex compositions, if you will. A great album, once again from Idols. One of the most talked about artists, at least at the moment, Beyonce and the Cowboy Carter album. This is the expanded edition, or this is the edition with every song that was on the original stream. The first vinyl release they did, there were 4 songs missing, and this is the full album with an alternate cover to the original cover. Um, I like her, whether it's country music or not. I could not care less. But I see a lot of triggered white people right now complaining about Beyonce. Anyways, let's not go into that. Another great album, a great return, The Cure and Songs of Lost World. Yes, return to form, thankfully, after 16 years without an album from them. And then a couple of Danish albums. This is Andreas Oddbjerg and the album Un Hommage, a French title. And then Katinka Band with their album Vi lader bare som om. Very good indie pop. This is more straightforward pop, but also has some classical music influences and even some Brazilian music, some samba references, and so on. 2 great Danish albums. And those, I think, are the only 8 albums worth of new music that I bought in 2024. So, some of the albums that sorry, just fiddling around with my tablet here, that I have not bought, but that I have listened to online, and that I do want to give a shout out to here is, of course, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Wild Gods, their return, Ensoulment, great album, Adrian Lenker, Bright Future. Again, these are some of the albums that I've listened to on streaming services. Beth Gibbons, Life's Outgrown, Fontaine's DC, Romance, another great album from them. Mdou Moctar, Funeral for Justice. I think he's from. Is he from? I don't recall the African country that he's from, but that's a great album. Kiasmos, their second album, Olafur Arnalds from Iceland and Janus Rasmussen from the Faroe Islands. Once again, going back into the Kiasmos project, and just blissed out minimal techno, ambient, just gorgeous album. I don't know why I have not bought that yet. Arouge Aftab, Night Rain, the British, no, not Palestinian, British Pakistani singer, who does just gorgeous, gorgeous music with a lot of references to her Pakistani roots. A great album. Let's see, what more do we have here? Michael Kiwanuka, Small Changes, another great album from Michael Kiwanuka. A couple of jazz ones that I want to mention as well. Kamasi Washington, Fearless Movement, great album, and Nubia Garcia, Odyssey. And an album that I forgot to put on my little list here is Nilufer Yanya, I think her name is. Nilufer Yanya. I don't recall the album title, but she once again did a great album. So these are ones that like I said, I have not bought on any physical format yet. Some of them, if not all of them, I will be purchasing in the near future. When it comes to artists that has really blown my mind this year, this lady up here, Chappell Roan. This is the album that she did. She released last year. Let me see if I can remember the title. The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. Came out in 2023, but really she blew up this year thanks to the song on this 7-inch single, Good Luck Babe. This is by far my favorite song of the year and even of the decade so far. Such a good pop song. Uh, Gorgeous songwriting, and her vocals are just on point. I've been listening to this song over and over and over all year. Led me to buying her debut, or led me to buying her album from last year. Great album. And she's coming to Denmark next year, and I purchased a 1 day ticket to the festival that she's coming to because I definitely do not want to miss Chapel Roan live now that she comes to my country. So that is, I think, my song of the year, and one of the artists that I really have been listening to the most. And when it comes to new artists for me this year, I have to mention a certain band. I'll get back to them shortly because it's a band that I came across on or at a festival. I went to two festivals this year. First of all, I went on a 1 day, single day ticket to the Danish metal festival Copenhagen. Um, Basically because Tool were playing, and Tool are one of my all-time favorite bands. And when they come to town, I have to see them. So I bought a Saturday ticket for Copenhagen to see Tool. I came in early because I wanted to get as much music as possible for the price of the 1 day ticket, which was pretty steep. Um, I think about 100, maybe about 100. No, not $100, like $200 maybe for a single day ticket. Um, yeah, but whilst waiting for Tool, I came across a band called Crypta, and they are a Brazilian death metal band consisting of four women. Um, this is their debut album, Echoes of the Soul, which came out in 2021. You can see the four ladies of Crypta there. And having said that, this lady here, whose name I can't recall now, Sonia, she's no longer in the band. She was only in the band for the first album and I think the following tour. Then she got replaced by another great guitarist. 2023, Crypta released this album, Shades of Sorrow, and I think there's a photo of the band members here. And Crypta have really blew my mind. I think I'm not really such a big death metal listener or death metal fan, but these ladies here just blew my socks off when I saw them live. It was a cold, rainy, windy summer afternoon in Denmark. It's like I think 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like, I don't know, 15 degrees and windy and rainy. But they still managed to absolutely enthrall the entire crowd that were watching the show. And I had no option but to go out and buy their two albums. So if you're into metal, if you're into death metal, think along classic legendary bands like Death. The vocalist and bass player Fernanda Lira, that's the lady there. Some people compare her to Chuck Schuldiner, who was the bass player and singer in the band Death, who sadly passed away many years ago now. Um, the style of her singing and the style of the music um, is right up your alley if you were into Death, or if you are into Death, the band, that is. Um, and also, of course, when you go to a metal festival, you have to wear a battle vest. This is my second time at Copenhagen. The first time I felt a bit as the odd one out because everyone was wearing their battle vests, and I didn't have one at that time. Um, but this year I got a battle vest, and now I say that I do like metal, and I do. But for me to spend 4 days at a metal festival, that would be too much for me because uh, I need some other inspiration. When I go to other festivals, if there's a metal band playing, I'm definitely seeing them. That's not it. But 4 days of metal straight would be too much for me. Um, So I don't really have any metal band patches or even pins. But what I do have is one of my other big interests, which is beer and microbreweries. I do, or did, or do still, because they're on my vest, have a lot of patches from the Danish microbrewery Mikkeller. So what I did was I had a friend um, to help me with sewing all of my beer patches onto my battle vest. So there aren't that many, I know, but the ones that I have are on the vest. And then also there is some, there's a Copenhagen patch there. But yeah, so all of these patches and or most of these patches and pins are beer related. And I did get a couple of looks from people saying, why is there a lemon on your battle vest? Why is there a cherry or blueberry and a hob on your battle vest? And then I had to explain, of course, why is there a man riding a cheetah or something and a man running around with blueberries? Well, it's beer related. And I am looking to find more beer related patches because then I can also use this battle vest at beer festivals if I'm ever going to one again. So yeah, that was my battle vest story and my Copenhagen story. The second festival that I visited this year was the biggest festival in Denmark, and I think even in maybe Northern Europe or at least Scandinavia, which is the Roskilde or Roskilde Festival. And this was I think my ninth or 10th time going to that festival. And it was brilliant as always. They have um, they have Roskilde. They don't really care about, I was gonna say, the expectations to what they present on the stages at their festival. Where other festivals like bring out the big guns every single time. So every 4 years, it's either Coldplay or you know, bands of that size or magnitude. Roskilde are a bit different. They want to bring like the newest, the freshest, the biggest bands right now, the biggest new bands or artists right now. And they've been getting a lot of criticism for that. But I always enjoy myself there. Roskilde always has a very diverse program. There's a lot of world music. There's a lot of different types of music. You can find everything from classical music to death metal. Seriously, and everything in between. One of the first, I think even the first concert I saw this year was a Scottish woman playing a bagpipe for 45 minutes, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. And they're always up to surprise you with acts you didn't know, and I really, really like that. There was a lot of focus on female artists this year, which I can only back up. I back up that initiative to get more female artists booked on some of the bigger stages at the festival because it gives something for the female audience to reflect themselves with. Um, you know, they can see that if they're at home trying to make their own music and they might be facing some difficulties simply because of their sex. Well, here's Roskilde Festival for you, the biggest festival in Scandinavia, and we are putting so many females on the biggest stages of our gathering here, which I think is awesome. Some of them were not so good, like they had Ice Spice, and she was one of the biggest headliners, and she did a show that was all in all 35 minutes long, and she was on stage for about 22 of those 35 minutes. That's not a headlining show for me, but still, I want to talk about briefly, the best concert of the festival for me. That was good old Roisin Murphy. You know her from Moloko. This is her latest studio album, Hit Parade, from 2023. She was still touring with that album, and She played. I think she played on Friday night, and I think this concert started at midnight, going into Saturday. And I was tired, and it was like the rainiest Roskilde in I don't know how many years. And I was tired, and my feet were aching, and it was all muddy and so on. And I said, well, let's just. I'm gonna go down to the show. I'm gonna sit outside of the tent, and if if the mood catches me, I'm gonna go inside the tent. And within 2 minutes, I was inside the tent, and it was by far the best concert of the entire festival. She did play some old Moloko songs, but focused obviously primarily on her solo work, which is stellar. And yeah, she really blew my mind with that show. That was just an awesome concert. So, Rasheen Murphy, thank you for this brilliant, gorgeous concert and a really good experience. And I think that that kind of concludes my roundup, my short roundup of this year. Expectations and hopes for next year. Well, hope is to definitely listen to more of the thousands of albums that I have, either on CD, on or vinyl or cassette. Um, want to keep staying um, adventurous, if you will, or not just fall back into the old habits of listening to the artists that you've listened to for years and years and years. I still want to expand my horizons when it comes to music. I still want to discover new music and new artists. That's a big thing for me. Um, I'm a member of different groups on Facebook with in regards to '90s music. And when Spotify came out with their rap lists, and everyone was like, "Yeah, and my number one is Nirvana, my number two is Pearl Jam, my number two is Alice in Chains, my number four is Soundgarden and whatnot." And I said, "Well, that's all fine. That's good music. I was there back in the day when it came out, and I liked it, and I can still listen to it and enjoy it. But if the top five bands that you're listening to are their releases are more than 30 years old, in my opinion, you need to get out there and discover some new artists, because there are a lot of great new artists. And it might not be that you can find the same within the rock, like the more exciting artists within the rock genres, but like I was as grunge as they get in the '90s. Now I listen to Chapel Roan, like chewing gum pop music, as we call it here in Denmark. I can still find the exceptional quality in the music of Chapel Roan. I can listen to Sabrina Carpenter. I can listen to Taylor Swift. I can still listen to Alice Coltrane and Underworld. And who else do we have? Beyonce, and so on. I can still listen to death metal and find new bands or newer bands. So I'm I don't understand these people that just are clinging to what they listened to when they were young. I mean, get out there and discover some new music. Um, it's like saying the Beatles are your favorite band. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like, discover some new music. Why don't you? Anyways, that's a much longer discussion than I will allow myself to take in this video here. Anyways, that's 2024. I'll see you maybe even with some more videos before the year closes. If not, we'll then have a happy new year. And take care and watch your fingers on New Year's Eve, okay? Because if you don't have any fingers, it's hard for you to flip a record, right? So without fingers, no vinyl records, everything will be streaming. You don't want that.